Welcome to NTD News. I'm Holly Kellum. Here are today's top stories. House Democrats are set to crank up their impeachment inquiry into President Trump this week. There are new testimonies lined up. Hunter Biden, son of presidential candidate Joe Biden, is set to step down from the board of directors of a Chinese firm at the end of the month. The Biden's overseas work is at the center of the impeachment inquiry. And the winners of the 2019 Nobel Prize in Economics have been announced, all three based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and one the youngest ever to win in economics. And as the Brexit deal approaches, talks are stuck over the Irish border. People from both sides cross the border daily, but Prime Minister Boris Johnson is optimistic. House Democrats will crank up their impeachment inquiry into President Trump this week. Today, the House Intelligence Committee is scheduled to hear from the former senior director for European and Russian Affairs on Trump's National Security Council. U.S. Ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland, may also testify. His attendance was rescheduled after the Trump administration blocked a previously scheduled appearance. The president maintains his innocence under the charges by the Democrats. The inquiry focuses on a July 25th phone call in which Trump asked Ukraine's president to investigate 2020 presidential hopeful Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. The World Trade Organization today formally authorized the U.S. to impose tariffs on up to $7.5 billion in EU imports.
The WTO's dispute settlement body, made up of representatives from its 164 members, cleared Washington to take countermeasures against the European Union and Airbus-producing countries, Britain, France, Germany, and Spain. The authorization was a formality after a WTO arbitrator awarded a record right to retaliate over illegal subsidies this month. WTO spokesman Dan Prusen said the deputy U.S. trade ambassador told the meeting that Washington still preferred a negotiated solution.
And then the European Union spoke, not the ambassador, I believe.
It was Paolo Garzani.
Okay. Expressing concerns about some of the arbitrator's findings. Canada intervened as well.
As a third party.
As a third party. And that was that.
The U.S. has said it will impose 10% tariffs on Airbus planes and 25% duties on a range of products, including French wine, Scottish whiskies, and cheese from across the continent.
Turkey's defense ministry released drone footage today of what it said were airstrikes on Kurdish YPG militant groups.
In a message on its Twitter account, the ministry said it targeted a truck supplying ammunition to the YPG and a tunnel used by Kurdish militants. According to state media, Syrian army troops entered the town of Tel Tamer in northeastern Syria earlier on Monday. The move came after Damascus reached an agreement with the Kurdish-led forces in the region to deploy into the area to counter the attack by Turkey. President Trump wrote on Twitter that Kurdish-led forces in northeast Syria may be releasing captive Islamic State militants to lure U.S. troops back to the area. The Turkish onslaught in northern Syria has raised concerns about their escape. International leaders have raised the alarm that if Islamic State militants and their families held by the Kurdish-led forces get out, they could revive the terrorist group. There have been reports that ISIS militants have gotten free already. Kurdish news service ANHA reported that wounded Syrian residents are being treated in the town of Tel Tamer after shelling by Turkish forces. Turkey announced its plan for the offensive last week, after which Trump made the controversial decision to withdraw some 50 special operations forces from 2 outposts in northern Syria. Trump said he didn't want American troops killed in the fray. Critics say it allowed the Turkish operation to go forward, and in the process, the U.S. turned its back on an ally that helped defeat the ISIS caliphate.
A federal judge ruled on Friday that President Trump's use of national emergencies to build part of the wall bordering Mexico was unlawful. A U.S. district judge ruled that Trump's proclamation violated spending legislation approved by Congress. In the proclamation, Trump declared that the current situation at the southern border presents a border security and humanitarian crisis that threatens core national security interests and constitutes a national emergency. He wrote that the southern border is a major entry point for criminals, gang members, and illicit narcotics. But the judge, who was appointed by President Bill Clinton, rejected the president's reasoning. The Trump administration is expected to appeal the ruling. Hunter Biden, the son of former Vice President Joe Biden, plans to step down from the board of directors of a Chinese firm at the end of the month, amid scrutiny of his business dealings in Ukraine and China.
According to Hunter Biden's attorney, he said he will not serve on any other foreign boards or work for any foreign companies if his father wins the presidency. However, Hunter didn't comment on whether he would retain his equity stake. An analysis by factcheck.org estimates the value of his stake in Chinese-backed BHR Equity Investment Fund Management Company as worth millions. Stephen Kaplan of the University of Chicago Booth School of Business said over the investment lifetime, Biden's stake in BHR could be worth up to hundreds of millions of dollars. Hunter Biden's work overseas sits at the center of the House impeachment inquiry into President Trump. Still, Republicans reacted to news of Hunter's decision with deep skepticism. Georgia Rep. Doug Collins, the top Republican on the House Judiciary Committee, said this is just another way to save a flailing campaign that's going down. He added Hunter knows he's in trouble, and this is just another way to try and detract attention. White House counselor Kellyanne Conway said Hunter Biden should have done this quite a while ago. During a news conference on Sunday, Joe Biden promised to bar his family members from occupying any office within the White House.
No one in my family will have an office in the White House, will sit in meetings as if they're a cabinet member, will in fact have any business relationship with anyone that relates to a foreign corporation or a foreign country.
Biden did not say if his pledge meant that his wife, Jill Biden, would not get the office traditionally assigned to first ladies should he win.
The Hard Rock Hotel building in New Orleans collapsed over the weekend. One body has been removed from the wreckage, a second body is being removed, and one person is still missing.
Authorities said 112 people were working inside when the structure collapsed on Saturday. 2 people were killed in the collapse and at least 30 people were hospitalized. All but one of the injured have been discharged. Rescuers resumed searching Sunday for a worker trapped in rubble after the deadly construction collapse. But the building's instability is making for an uncertain situation. Mayor LaToya Cantrell told reporters Sunday evening that one body had been removed from the site but has not yet been identified, and crews are working to remove the second body. But the building is unsafe, according to the mayor.
The area is unstable right now, and safety is top priority. Rescue, absolutely, but we cannot overestimate, the structure being unsound, unstable right now.
The mayor spoke with one of the victims after they underwent surgery on Saturday. A crane brought in early Sunday to help stabilize the structure and facilitate response operations was being set up late Sunday morning. Authorities have not said what caused the collapse, but the mayor promised a relentless investigation into the incident. She said the Occupational Safety and Health Administration would join the probe once rescue efforts were complete. NTD News.
An Indiana man is accused of trying to have sex with a teenage girl. Police say 32-year-old Tommy Lee Jenkins made the arrangement with a 14-year-old girl in Wisconsin, but he was actually communicating with an undercover police officer. Investigators say Jenkins demanded sexually explicit photographs and engaged in explicit conversations as he journeyed to meet her on foot over 351 miles. Jenkins now faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years and up to a lifetime in prison if convicted. He is scheduled to appear in federal court on October 23rd. And today, 3 economists were awarded the Nobel Prize for their work to alleviate global poverty. All 3 are based in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
2 of the winners for the Nobel Prize for Economic Sciences are from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the other from Harvard University.
To award the Sveriges Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel for 2019, jointly to Abhijit Banerjee, Esther Duflo, and Michael Kramer.
In a statement, the committee said the winners were awarded for introducing a new approach to obtaining reliable answers about the best ways to fight global poverty.
So what they've done is to essentially come up with a new approach. And the simplest way to put it is that they take a broad question such as why are kids not learning in school?
The Academy said in a statement that as a direct result of one of their studies, more than 5 million Indian children have benefited from programs for remedial tutoring in schools.
It was incredibly humbling, to tell you the truth. I didn't think it was possible to win the Nobel Prize in Economics before being significantly older than any of the three of us.
At 46 years old, Duflo is the youngest person ever to win a Nobel Prize in economics.
Has risen as police and military carry out a rescue operation amidst damage and destruction after a typhoon struck.
Over 40 people have been killed and many more left homeless after Typhoon Hagibis struck on Saturday. Around 100,000 homes are without power. Many areas in central and eastern Japan are underwater as rainfall reaches record levels. Military helicopters have been called in to airlift people to safety. A resident who returns from an evacuation center finds his farm and vehicles ruined by the water. As the rescue operation continues, officials have warned of more rain on Monday.
Hong Kong protesters have placed their version of a Lady Liberty statue on a peak overlooking the city. Clashes with riot police continue to cause chaos.
In the dead of night, several dozen Hong Kong protesters scaled the city's Lion Peak early on Sunday, carrying with them their version of Lady Liberty. The 3-meter statue represents an injured protester, believed by activists to have been shot in the eye by a police projectile, and holds a banner saying, "Revolution of our time, liberate Hong Kong." Alex, one of the protesters, says he hopes it will inspire people to keep fighting. Hong Kong's Lady Liberty can be seen from the city below, where on Sunday she watched over protesters and riot police clashing in chaotic scenes. Several rallies were held in shopping centres against what is seen as Beijing's tightening grip on the city. Police made numerous arrests and deployed tear gas after hardcore activists trashed shops and metro stations and erected roadblocks. More than 2,300 people have been arrested since the demonstration started in June. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam says 40% of those detained since September were under the age of 18 and 10% under the age of 15.
China's exports fell at a faster pace in September than previous months. Imports also contracted for a 5th straight month.
China's exports fell 3.2% in September compared to a year earlier, the biggest fall since February. This comes as tentative signs of a thaw in a drawn-out trade war between the US and China that has rattled international markets. Total September imports fell 8.5% after August's 5.6% decline, the lowest since May. China's domestic demand has remained weak as economic uncertainty weighs on business and consumer confidence and discourages fresh investment. The new data could put pressure on Beijing to stimulate the economy to avert a sharper economic downturn. Following trade talks on Friday, President Trump agreed to put off an additional tariff hike planned for this week on Chinese imports. The hike was set to start Tuesday on $250 billion of Chinese goods. However, Washington is still set to impose a December 15th tariff hike on $160 billion worth of smartphones and other imports. NTD News.
Up next, official results show Poland's ruling Nationalist Party has won a second term, a choice between traditional Catholic values and the opposition's liberal position. That and more after the break.
This is extremely gutsy. The Chinese Communist Party is not known for taking criticism very well.
The police have walked off the streets and been firing tear gas and beanbag rounds at the protesters, and they've made several arrests.
警方呢是一直进行了一些推进，并且呢是多次举起黑旗和橙旗呢去发射了很多的催泪彈。
即係佢哋放出去嗰陣時，嘭咁撞到個肚㗎。咁咧就我而家翻轉頭咧見到個咁嘅嘢，因為嗰時兵荒馬亂啦，我就。
That's the media liaison. They're telling us that we need to get out of here. They're telling the press to leave.
Boy, this tear gas is getting pretty strong.
investigative reporters at the Epoch Times have spent 18 months uncovering the biggest political scandal in modern history. We connected the dots around Spygate, the actions by Obama-era officials against Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Join me on Declassified as we bring you up-to-date developments on this unfolding scandal.
The lasting beauty of traditional oil painting. Realistic style. Brilliant. Moving. Expressive. 2019 NTD Television International Competition for Figure Painting in Oil. Guided by truthfulness, kindness, and beauty. We invite you to join us on our journey back to traditional art. Gold Prize Award of $10,000. For more detail, please visit oilpainting.ntdtv.com.
Official results show Poland's ruling Nationalist Party has won a second term after Sunday's parliamentary election.
Poland's ruling Nationalist Party has won Sunday's parliamentary elections. Official results show the Law and Justice Party with around 45% of votes. A second term for PIS will likely bolster anti-immigration populists across the EU. The party has already shifted Poland's foreign policy away from the European mainstream and has led calls to take some powers away from Brussels. During the polarized campaign, the party cast the election as a choice between its traditional Catholic values and its opposition's liberal order that undermines family life. But opposition groups say the last 4 years of PIS rule have undermined the independence of the courts and forced public media to promote its agenda. Critics have also accused the party of fomenting homophobia. PIS officials have called LGBT rights an invasive foreign influence that threatens Poland's national identity. Meanwhile, it's still unclear whether PIS or the opposition has won the most seats in the upper house of Parliament, the Senate.
In the UK, whether it can reach a Brexit deal with the EU may depend on whether they can agree on what to do about the border between the Republic of Ireland and the UK's Northern Ireland.
Talks over the weekend between London and Brussels about the Irish border show some promise, but Ireland remains cautious.
A deal is possible, and it's possible this month. May even be possible this week, but we're not there yet.
Currently, there's no visible border between the Republic of Ireland and the UK's Northern Ireland. People from both sides cross the border daily. Both sides hope to avoid a hard border at the numerous land crossings between what will one day be the UK and EU, but how that could work once the UK leaves the EU is unclear. Another matter is deciding whether Northern Ireland will stay or leave the EU customs unions, and whether it'll remain in the EU's single market or have access to the British market, or both. Despite the sizable issues yet to be resolved, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he hopes to work out a deal this Thursday or Friday to have it ready by the October 31st deadline, when the UK is set to leave the EU.
Up next, the Shenyun Symphony Orchestra's unique blend of East and West captured audiences in D.C. That and more after the break.
Factual,
honest news.
Not biased, but completely straightforward.
You're not emotionally going up and down.
Bringing morality back to newspapers.
The honest, old-fashioned journalism.
You're presenting the facts and letting the reader decide.
The Epoch Times is a fearlessly independent news media that publishes in 35 countries and 21 languages. Truth and tradition is our motto. Founded as an antidote to communist propaganda, today we're quickly becoming a household name across America. Our subscribers thank us for our relentless and unbiased coverage.
I've been part of the Epoch Times for nearly a decade because I've seen there's no other major media outlet in the world as devoted to real journalism. The Epoch Times has never had any corporate or political agenda. We only serve our readers, and we'll stay that way, no matter what.
We connected the dots around Spygate, the Obama administration's elaborate efforts against Trump's 2016 campaign. We often break news months ahead of other media on topics such as Chinese espionage, cyber warfare, subversion in America, and more. But our authoritative reporting didn't only just begin. We are tried and true.
Our paper was born out of the need to respond to a human rights catastrophe in China. It was enabled by the Communist Party's vicious and dishonest propaganda. We soon learned that Western media were picking up and amplifying the lies. The Epoch Times truthful reporting exposed the Communist Party's lies for the Chinese people. But it also helped protect our Western audience. It disabused for them the lies in this propaganda. Our reporting has also helped uncover how communist ideas are taking root in our own country. The Epoch Times started as a small and unknown publication in one of the toughest media markets in the world. We have built it through hard work and trial and error.
We were founded in the year 2000 in Atlanta, Georgia, by Chinese Americans who had fled communist China. Our independent reporting came at a price. Our staff members in China were jailed and tortured for their reporting, some for as long as 10 years. Because our founders believed in truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, the principles of the spiritual practice fallen gone. They felt such sacrifices were worth it to ensure for the world an independent, honest media, one that would report on the most pressing issues of our time. As many major media are losing people's trust and declining further every day, the fastest growing newspaper in America delivers truth and tradition. Look us up today.
And audiences attending a performance by the Shenyun Symphony Orchestra in D.C. last night share some of their thoughts.
Oh, I love it. Incredible.
It's a very sacred experience.
I loved it. It was other dimensional. I was in the sixth dimension. I was on a cloud. It was fabulous.
On Sunday evening, the Shenyun Symphony Orchestra performed at Strathmore Music Center near Washington. The level of the musicianship and the combination of Eastern and Western musical instruments had many among the audience offering their praise.
I'm really impressed with how soft but big the sound is, and it has this romantic quality but also invokes nature and horses. It's just absolutely magical.
The musicians are so precise. The precision of all the string instruments and then the blending of the the woodwinds and the brass. And then the percussion is just fantastic.
I love the conductors as well, who were so into what they were doing. It was beautiful. That was a performance in and of itself.
After 2 encores, the curtains closed. Before heading home, a recommendation.
If anybody's watching it and you get a chance, come see it. This is a lot of fun, and they're really good.
Reporting by Kitty Wong, NTD News.
And now to Afghanistan, where the National Museum aims to reassemble thousands of pieces belonging to relics of the nation's Buddhist history.
Conservators at the National Museum of Afghanistan are restoring the country's Buddhist history that the Taliban tried to erase. It's a bit like assembling a 1,500-year-old jigsaw puzzle. In 2001, the militant Islamic group went on a cultural rampage. They destroyed artifacts from as long ago as the 3rd century, when many Afghans practiced Buddhism. The destruction includes 2 towering Buddha statues and scores of smaller ones that had been excavated from Buddhist monastery sites and preserved at the Kabul Museum. The museum's director says while Buddhism was practiced in Afghanistan long ago, its heritage is significant. Not just the artistic work, but also the artistry of monuments themselves, and that they show an important part of the nation's history. 40 years of war, from the 1980s Soviet occupation to internal fighting and the war against the Taliban, have destroyed much of Afghanistan's art, artifacts, and architecture. Warlords stole other pieces and sold them abroad. But young generations see the importance of learning about and preserve their history and culture.
آمدن به موزیم بسیار مهم است به هر فرد افغان به خاطر که از تاریخ گذشته ما آگاه شویم از اجداد و نیاکان ما آگاه شویم که آنها چه قسم تاریخ داشتن.
NTD News.
Up next, a Kenyan woman smashes the marathon world record, setting a blistering pace. Find out her record-breaking time, that and more after the break.
When you look at TV networks in America, a soundbite and fight-it-out culture prevails on news and commentary programs. As a Canadian, I'm fascinated with America, and I wanted to offer American thought leaders an opportunity to share their thoughts in a deep dive format, where we can explore their ideas together. And so American Thought Leaders was born. The world's most brilliant thinkers believed that open discourse was the key to greatness. However, all around the world, we see that discourse is being stifled, and political agendas have subverted media. The Epoch Times launched its Global Thought Leaders program to bring back this great tradition of free thought. As the host of American Thought Leaders, every week I interview some of the most intriguing minds on the most pressing issues of our time. Be sure to check out our new episodes every week.
The third trailer for the sequel of the musical Frozen 2 has been released. Idina Menzel returns as Ice Queen Elsa, along with Kristen Bell, who reprises her role as Princess Anna. The pair team up to fight dark forces. Academy Award-winning directors Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee are also returning, as well as the film's producer and two of its songwriters. Joining the cast are Evan Rachel Wood and Sterling K. Brown. Frozen 2 will be released in the UK and the US on November 22nd. And a Kenyan woman has broken the 16-year women's marathon world record.
The 25-year-old Bridget Koskei set a blistering pace in the Chicago Marathon on Sunday. She ran 2 hours, 14 minutes, 4 seconds and shattered Paula Radcliffe's previous record of 2 hours, 15 minutes, 25 seconds, which the Briton set in London in April 2003.
If a lady can prepare good and they have no injury, no what and what, they could run even 2:14 to reduce even 2 minutes. They can reduce to 2:12 or maybe 1 minute to be 2:13.
Koskei's record came a day after the men's marathon was for the first time run in under 2 hours. But the mark in Vienna will not count for record purposes. Two Ethiopian runners finished more than 6 minutes behind Koskei. Kenyan Lawrence Chirono sprinted past Ethiopian Dejene Debela to win the men's race in 2 hours, 5 minutes, 45 seconds. But British defending champion Farah placed 8th on 2 hours, 9 minutes and 58 seconds, and previous winner Galen Rupp failed to finish. The time was Farah's slowest in a marathon by more than a minute. Both Farah and Rupp were formerly coached by the now banned Salazar, as was American Jordan Hasay, one of the women's favorites, who also did not finish. NTD News.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us again tonight. I'm Holly Kellum.